Welcome everybody to our Agile Austin Leaders Special Interest Group, December 2025. Happy holidays. Hope everybody's in the holiday spirits and stuff, or getting there at least. Okay. We are part of the larger Agile Austin community, the umbrella. We connect, collaborate, grow, and we share best practices, ideas, all things agile. That's what we do, folks. It's what we do. And we have a board. We're a nonprofit and we have a board. And Will and I have been on the board in the past, and I was on the board as president till a few months ago, July. But we always say, if you have any questions, email the board at agileaustin.org. But we got Sid as president, is doing great. She was vice president previously. Lonnie, Alex, Ben, and Jenny. It's like great folks. And then the Agile Austin organization has been around since 2007 and growing. So, we have sponsorships and membership. If you're a member, it's $35 per year. Various perks you get. You're on our internal Slack. There's a lot of stuff from job postings, communications, and you get a discount to all our activities that we do, that like from conferences to AI trainings that we're doing now, because that's the big hot thing, right? Use your business agility and AI to deliver value faster and better. So we do a lot of that and stuff. So I will just put here in the Slack, I will put, boom, the link to all of the stuff. And if you want to get some more information, our website is great. As I said to folks, feel free to chat. Feel free to put, your LinkedIn. Tammy, I see your comments about husband counts feet, no bodies. Yeah, we were talking about pets before, and cats and dogs and etc. So feel free to share, okay? Shout out to our sponsors, right? Our sponsors make it possible. So thank you. They make a lot possible. We're financially sound, organization, and can provide a lot of things for free because of our memberships and sponsors. Thank you. Agile Velocity, Resumex, Sema, Ad Meliora, etc. Thank you. I will put all their links and stuff in the chat. Got everything here. Sharing stuff. And going on, QR code for, discounted courses from our title sponsor, Agile Velocity. If anybody has an interest, ask questions, anything from certified Scrum stuff, product owner stuff, save stuff, everything, they do it all. And more on the AI track now. I tell everybody, we have so many awesome free meetups every month. I think we average between 5 to 7 per month. We post everything on the YouTube channel, but if you want to actually attend them and everything, I say to everybody, the best thing to do is just to subscribe to the meetup channel that we have, and you get the notifications for all the events that we do. And as I said, it's all free. Product, SIG, with AI involved in it. This is, the Leaders SIG, book club, lean Kanban, etc., etc. Awesome. Always, if you want to volunteer, if you want to hear more about things, be involved in everything, we are always excited to have folks and everything. And we have folks that help us out and join on a monthly kind of a basis. So please, if you're interested, contact us. Whoa, what do we have going on? For those of you that might not be aware, today, December is our 16th annual anniversary of the Leaders Special Interest Group. Hey, this has been going on since 2009. 2009, folks. And thank you. More cheers, more faces. Yeah. And let me tell you something. For someone that has been involved for 16 years, I have the privilege of seeing trends. A trend that when we got started, we were talking about how to train people on Scrum principles, how to train people on understanding story points. I cannot explain how many times we talked about story points. I don't ever want to talk about story points ever again, okay? And we talked about all those things about processes and frameworks. Fast forward to now, we never talk about that, right? We talk about delivering customer value faster and better, psychological safety. We talk about so many things that we just need and we have to emphasize to improve agility. And I think that's a good trend. That's a good trend that we've done, right? But that's what you see when you see from the start, when it was a very new thing, to now where we've got to talk about, we're starting to talk about a lot of really valid topics now. Happy New Year. We don't have a Leaders SIG in January. And then February, we have Lonnie that's coming to talk to us about strategic foresight, right? In this day and age where disruption is happening, as always, but it will be happening even faster, probably in the near future with AI and other factors. Really, how do you want to position yourself as an organization that can really succeed? And we're actually using the strategic foresight to help the Agile Austin organization. But just as we help ourselves, it's be great to just hear how this can help some other people also in whatever kind of transformation they'd like to lead. Awesome. And last but not least, we've got COD that is coming up. Keep Austin Agile. It is 13 years that we have been doing Keep Austin Agile. I'm gonna drop this link also in the chat. Okay, we are only gonna be taking speaker submissions till next Friday, December 12th, if everybody's interested. So Will, you have your deadline. Everybody else, you have your deadline, okay? But if you'd like to buy the ticket, the discount is on now already for members, and I mean like an early bird, right? So April 10th, 2026 is Keep Austin Agile Conference. Hybrid, it's online and in person here in Austin. Folks, we always do a Brady Bunch picture. So if folks are okay with it, can you turn on your camera? Okay, if it's okay that people know that you're here, you want to grab your Santa hat if you have one, or you want to grab anything holiday-like, or you don't have to, optional, okay? I see Laura, Lyndon, Nicole, and Woody, Tom, Chris, hey, Jubin, all right. I think come on, who else can turn it on? We'll take it. We'll take it soon. Hold on. Okay, folks. So it's going to be 3, and act as if you're having a good time. 3, 2, 1. Did it work? Hold on. Keep. There you go, folks. Yes, I captured it. There you go. Let me share it. There you go. Hold on. Where's my snipping tool? Why is my connectivity a little bit slower? Okay. I think I got the most of you, right? Yeah. Nice expression there. Hey, Woody. Yeah, you're there. I see you. High 10 from you, Will. Okay, good, man. Good. Don't worry. We'll just post it. Is it cool if we post it on LinkedIn, maybe? Yeah? All right. Let's do this. Folks, I am so excited to have Will here today so we can talk about leveraging AI and business agility to deliver customer value. I have just gotten so passionate about delivering value that, I just always want to talk about that. There's so many other things that can really help out. Okay. But delivering customer value to me is just, like essential, right? So thank you to our guest speaker, Will, that is here to talk about it. And we're going to have a bit of a podcast, like kind of a discussion here. But it doesn't only have to be about Will and I. Everybody can chime in on chat, make a comment, raise your virtual hand, speak up and everything. Because, if you let us, Will and I can go on for hours. And
hours.
And we only have 3 slides, Will. We only have 3 slides. We kept it at that. And the slides are just to let people know what we're talking about, okay? And I have to admit people here. Sorry, you see how I'm going ahead here? Sorry. Okay, so Will, who are you?
So I am I'm a native Austinite. So I've been in Austin for a long time. I've been involved with Agile Austin about 13 years. Like I say, I am a past president. I have led technology groups from larger companies down to a lot of startups. Most of my career eventually moved to COO, and then in the last little over 2 years, I have moved back to entrepreneurship myself. So I've formed 2 companies in the last year, and I am rocking and rolling. And one of them is we actually build software that is AI infused. So I won't go any deeper than that, but I have my hands pretty deep into the AI software building foray.
And great, Will. It's going to be great to hear that experience, case studies, actual stuff that doers do. Folks, we're not going to be talking a lot of theoretical stuff here. We're going to actually be talking about stuff that is either being done or has been done, right? Thank you, Will. Thank you. And for me, oh my God, I get to introduce myself. Max Akesi. I've been in Austin since 2001. I worked in corporate America till 2024 for large enterprises, Dell, Amazon, PayPal, General Motors, and I did a lot of portfolio program strategy and always a flavor of agile transformation in that. And after doing that for so long, I was like, hold on a second. Why don't I just do this for myself? I'm not getting any younger and I have a limited amount of time before I retire. So let's do this. And I started Carpe Diem Technology Services. And I've been able to put so much of the agile mindset to work in the last year and a half. It blows my mind away. We're a tech services company, a software development shop for the most part. And we help startups. We build the mobile apps, the websites, the back end. And we've gotten into staff augmentation because there's just, when we work with clients, they have a need for more stuff and they hire our folks. All right. So it's been great. But I will be speaking more from the business, agility side, because I have not tampered with AI for now. My folks have, but I've not, right? Awesome. Let's get into it. The first topic that we're going to talk about is why focus on delivering value, right? We're always talking about customer value. We're always talking about deliver value faster and better and everything. From your experience, I know why, and I'll talk about it soon, but why focus on it? Why talk so much about it? There's so many other things.
It's a great question, and the way you started and we talked about it back in the early days, we'd spend hours talking about the finer points of story points and elephants and lizards and snakes and all of those things that we used to do, and we talked ourselves and we lost sight in a lot of ways, in my opinion, especially early on, into what the actual core understanding of the Agile manifesto and principles are about. And I'm not going to go into those today, but if you go and look at the original 4 and the original 12, you'll see that about 75% of them are around delivering customer value. It's about the customer. And if we lose sight of that, in my opinion, we've lost sight of the core tenet of Agile. We need to be agile for and because of the customer and nothing else. I mean, that's what we're doing. We're not, this isn't a science project. We're not researchers. We're not working for some university. We're out here in the real world. So for me, customer value is everything. And I'll dive into it a little more, and we'll talk about what I've come to learn lately is that a key piece of customer value is to first validate who your customer is. If you don't understand your customer, if you don't have a knowledge, what do they want? What will they pay for? That's how they vote when they get ready to say it's valuable. They're putting their dollars out there. If you don't go in there and understand that first before you write a line of code, you're not going to be able to deliver customer value correctly. So that's really where my head has been in the last year and a half around customer value. It's always been central, but I'm looking at places where I've seen it break down and why. And why is usually because we haven't spent the time to understand our customer. And today, I believe this is not just it's like, oh well, the PO will do that. Like, no, everyone needs to understand the customer. So I could get up on a soapbox, Max, and I promise each other we wouldn't stand up too long. But I'm very passionate about the initial validation, right? Really understanding, which means talking to your customers, surveying your customers, interviewing your customers, not just pretending that you're the know all be all because oh well that's something I would use. You really have to get out there and get among us. So I could go on for days, but I'll pitch it back to Max.
Yeah, no, I think spot on. And some things that you talked about, we are well aware. A lot of times it's like preaching to the choir. Like everybody on this Zoom call is aware of the importance of the customer value. But I have been too many times in scenarios where we delivered projects, we delivered huge initiatives when I was in corporate America, and there was never that validation to start with who the real customer was, and then a validation post deployment about did we actually deliver value? We delivered, but did we deliver value? And there was just always crickets in the room when I would ask that question, right? One specific scenario that I remember, an experience that like changed my mentality on this completely. And this happened way back when I was at Dell and we were creating a sales tool, right? For a lot of the sales reps and everything. We're talking about 2007, 2008. So this like hit me like almost 20 years back. We delivered everything. It was one of the first times that an actual massive project was delivered with a Scrum framework. Like the Uber Scrum Master that ran the Scrum of Scrums. We had all these various Scrum teams, and it was just incredible. We were getting feedback at the end of every sprint, doing the retrospectives. It was like I was on a high. We delivered not only on time, we delivered ahead of time. You know that kind of scenario where the product folks were like, hey, we actually have enough here to go to market. This is awesome and everything. And boom, we went ahead of time live. It was like great. What happened next? The actual salespeople, the end users that use the application, they started to communicate on this internal blog-like tool. It's like, my goodness, this application just doesn't work. It's so tough. It's this, it's that. And I was like, hold on a second. All our actual customers who were the product folks and the the management of the product folks and who were speaking for the business, they told us we delivered. I have all these emails in my inbox from directors and VPs that we did a phenomenal job. Why is this sales end user complaining? What is this person even complaining about? Now, the old Max, which was way back when I just do what I'm told and shut up. That was the old Max that was only 2 years in corporate America. Because after, I have always had a culture of, I want to understand why if someone complains about software that we delivered, right? It's not okay that I just get credit and maybe get a promotion. I want to understand why. When we double clicked and we went to the salesperson and we actually were in the person's cube and we saw it, all of a sudden we see the salesperson bring up all these different screens of some other apps and everything, copying and pasting information. And in a matter of 30 seconds, we asked the person, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, we built you a new app that has all the features you need. What are you doing? And the person was like, look, your new app doesn't have all the information that the old apps had from the orders. What I do is when I quote a new client, like Chevron is a client that has existed for, but I give them a new quote, I copy and paste an old quote and I tweak it. And your new app doesn't have any of the old data that was in the old system. I just looked at him and I'm like, I looked at the person, why did you tell us that this was a quote? 7% of the is quoting. Why did you tell us? Because they were like, don't bother the salespeople. We will give you the requirements. And they gave us all these requirements and epics and stories. And at the end of the day, they were not even validating. They were not bringing those people into sprint reviews. They were not actually showing those people the demos. So they might have been our customers, but they were not the end user that were getting value from the tool. This just highlighted the fact that if you don't know the value that you're delivering, you are going to fail. If you cannot verify the value, right?
That's 100%. I mean,
issue in one sprint. Will, we had worked for 6 months on this whole thing. One sprint, it was actually in 3 days, but we just told them by the end of the sprint. 3 days, we fixed it because we had like an API that connected to the data source that had all the quotes and everything, and we pulled it in for them on the screen. And that salesperson took me out for coffee because he said, you saved me hours. Every week you save me hours of time, right? Just from that one tweak, right?
And I just like to say but not in theory. A lot of what I talked about in the beginning sounded like theory, but it's not theory. So the very first tool that we have that's published live out into the world with Pivot Ready is a validation tool. It is a place where the person building the software can go in, not writing code, not starting with anything, but it's like, hey, here's what we're thinking, and it will actually produce surveys that you can take to your customer to validate, hey, that's it. So just like in this example here, if those POs have actually gone to the salespeople, well, that's the point of this software. We're going to go right to our target user and say, is this a value to you? And no matter what, I mean, I've talked to some of the people that have used it. They're like, I see that what I thought was the number one thing is not the number one thing. It's number 6. Right? Number 1 is actually this over here. And what I thought everybody would pay for it is actually this. And what they actually will pay for it is that. Oh, damn, we can actually get more money for this other feature that I thought was worthless. All of these things, that's what I talk about validation. That's where you're there. If you understand up front what the value is from the customer, not from your head, then you're building something. And that's why it was our first tool, because we understand, look, my partner that I've been I've known Aaron since Dun and Bradstreet, which was like back in the before times, right? So this is 2006 and 2008, so that way back. And
20 years.
We've seen all of this, right? We've seen all this. We took that and we say, what does it really take to build valuable software? And it starts up front.
Yeah. And it's not about story points. It's not about like your hours work. I have seen beautiful burn down charts for hours, beautiful burn up for story points, even like OKRs, which look like OKRs. I've seen scenarios where the OKRs are delivered. Everything is okay. Everything is green. And You do a survey, you get an NPS score, and it's like, wait, how come people are not even using the software? Why? Like, we're not getting feedback. We don't. We didn't. People aren't even using it, right? They're going by the old stuff that was there, right? Folks, if anybody has a story or an experience to share, it'd be great to hear on chat or in person. I wanted to highlight one particular thing about customer value that I've noticed from like being a tech entrepreneur and working directly with customers and clients. I mean, that's the one thing that gives me a natural high every day, right? I for a lot of years was tucked into big IT groups and organizations, and I didn't have the opportunity to discuss directly with customers. In the last year and a half, I've noticed that you've got to deliver really high value, but your cost point, at least when you get started, because we are focused on small companies that don't have high budgets, but a lot of people are just strapped for stuff. You've got to have a business model that you're delivering high value at an affordable cost. I'm not saying cheap, but it's got to be affordable, right? And I think that this is something that a lot of people might not think about very early on in their process, and they might be able to deliver high value, but if it's at a really high cost, then your end user and customer, they might appreciate it, but they might not give a referral for your services because there's a lot of other services out there that give the same thing at a more affordable rate. And now, which we'll discuss further, with AI, I mean, like automation and a lot of things, a lot of people can generate services. A lot of people are going to be able to generate services and companies and stuff like that. And so it's so important to really deliver value and think about your business model, doing it at a very cost effective point, right? I think I see a hand up. Shayla?
Yeah, you wanted examples. At one point, I was working with Amtrak, and we decided to do a site visit to the station where they load the auto train to Florida, which is a little different than the way all the other trains work. For one thing, they take autos and they load them. So we were going there to talk about the e-ticketing process, which was what I was working on. But because we were there, we basically went over everything they did. And what we found when we talked to some of the people at the check-in and some of the other locations was that there were a lot of things they were doing manually that had never been put into a system. And there were a lot of things where they were checking discrepancies between systems. So it didn't change a lot about what we were doing with e-ticketing, but we came away with a bunch of other things that needed work that would actually free up a lot of their time. So we wound up with a few spin-off projects, but it was all things that would make for more efficiency for them and make for less frustration for both them and the passengers they were checking in.
Exactly. And Shayla, I've got one question on that just came up because I've experienced that so many times. But the question is, why? Why did those manual things that they do, I mean, like the inefficiencies, why were those not brought to your attention through the regular requirements gathering process or whatever the thing is? Why do you think that you didn't hear this end user pain point?
Well, because it wasn't technically part of e-ticketing, and they're kind of that particular station in the way that they operate is kind of a one-off because the main thing that they do that's different is the auto train, and they're the only station in the country that does that. There is a station in Florida that does the return trip, but and we did talk to them about how what they did was different than what was done in Florida so that we'd know those points too. But that was the first time anybody really looked at it. And I don't know that the managers, since it was working, I don't know that the managers had ever thought to ask for some of these things to be automated or integrated.
Exactly. And you said a key phrase that it was the first time that anybody ever paid attention to it. I mean, they noticed it. And that's something that we have to be aware when we have customers or clients or a user, like we really have to go out there and connect with them and see their needs and just be there to listen, right? To their pain points because stuff will come up. And now, and Will can probably talk a little bit more about this, is we need to find ways to efficiently listen and gather that information and feedback much faster and much better than we have in the past. Because the days of just like waiting for someone like a product person or a business person to go talk to someone, those product folks might have to use a lot of the tools also that can gather that feedback and information much faster, much faster. But thanks for sharing that. Thanks for sharing that. And if anybody has an experience to share, bring it up. But
Well, I
Will,
have one more.
oh, Cheryl's on a roll. Okay, Cheryl's on a
Okay.
roll. What?
There was another time at in a financial services institution where I was told that a department had a totally inadequate system. So I
Mhm.
went to talk to them about what their business process was, and we spent an hour or so with them describing their process. And at the and we're getting close to the end of the meeting, and I say, "Well, I don't understand. I was told that you had a system that didn't really support you very well, but what you're describing sounds really good with could use a few tweaks." And they're like, "Oh no, our current system doesn't do any of this. This is what we need." And I said, "Well, okay, then we need to go back and talk about your business process again because there are a few things in here that are kind of convoluted, but I thought they were what you already had." So I was starting using that as a starting point. Since we know this isn't what you have, we need to talk about, but won't the system actually know what we need? Do we have to tell you? I mean, I've had that on a smaller scale other times, but that was the best example of, the user didn't really understand that I just had to very calmly tell them that the system isn't going to know what you want until I tell it.
It's awesome how some people, and because my company does work with people that are not in the technology space. Like one client that we have now is a high-end construction company, and it's interesting to see the people that have been on spreadsheets as a workflow tool when they go to a mobile app, a web-based role enabling according to who logs on, then it just blows their mind. But then they make some assumptions, right? Can't you just do this and do this? I'm like, yeah, hold on a second. Hold on a second. We need to understand that first so that we build it so that you can do it. Will, sorry, I'm talking too much. You want to chime in?
Yeah, I mean, part of what we're talking about here is how AI can come into to bringing value to the customer, right? And one of the ways, and again, I'm going to cite real examples. Um, I'm currently building a tool that's called a My Publicist tool. It's like having your own AI publicist, right? So for those of us that can't afford $2,500 a month to get a publicist, but we want to get on podcasts or speaking engagements, we need some alternatives. So this tool, one of the key things that I was doing when I was training the AI to help this person was to learn to talk to the podcast hosts the way the podcast hosts are interested in. So instead of talking, when I go to say, hey, I want to be on your podcast, hey, I want to build your software, hey, I want to do this thing, not about me. I'm not going to tell you how great I am. I'm going to tell you why your audience, what makes you feel like this is a good thing. And this is where AI can be really, really good because we're all about it. We're talking along, and next thing you know, we're telling our stories. We're telling it from our point of view, how we're going to do it. We're projecting, as opposed to really trying to pull in the other thing. If you could go out there and you train one of these AI bots to speak to the audience about the audience, then it will keep you from making that bad mistake. So boom, boom, boom. I now go craft an email by punching a button to a podcast host, and it references their last 3 podcasts, because AI can go out and research and find all those things very fast. And it actually writes something that engages the in this case, the end user, the way they want to be engaged, as opposed to saying, "Oh, look how great I am! I want to be on your podcast." They don't care about that. They can read my LinkedIn. They want to know what resonates with their audience. And so it's the same logic that you're talking about when you're talking about customer value. You don't walk up and say, "Look at this new feature that we got. It's going to make your life great." That's not how you do it. You go and you say, "Hey, tell me about your problems. Tell me about your pain." That's how you get them engaged. Then they're going to go, "Oh, well, I run out of ink all the time. That's my problem." It's like, "Hey, Gray, have you ever heard of a pen?" "I've never heard of one." "But this is what we're delivering. We're delivering a pen that's got ink in it all the time. You don't have to dip it in the quill anymore," right? I made that shit up, obviously, but there it is.
Conceptually, yes. And you said, Will, that if you had your publicist, you'd be paying thousands of dollars a month. But if you can use this AI bot or whatever it is, then the cost of that is comparably what per month?
So, I mean, so like the one that would, depending on the features you have, anywhere from $20 a month to if you want the whole shebang, $100 a month. But still,
Yeah.
you lay $100 a month down against 2,000. It's like that's not even it's a rounding error. And so,
Yes.
yeah, absolutely.
And
I mean,
that's a perfect example also of the disruption that is happening today. Again, just to end on that note about cost, you've got to be so aware at the cost point you're coming into the market at, because that is getting more and more competitive, and more and more competitive.
And it goes right back to where we started. Understanding the audience. When we started building this app, the first thing was to understand the audience. Well, the audience is solopreneurs, right? These are people that are solo. They don't have corporate budgets, right? Yeah. These are people like a Scrum Master for hire, right? That's out there doing consultant work, right? You probably don't have a $2,500 a month budget to make sure that you're on the right podcast so that you can get yourself some exposure and some authority.
Exactly.
But you probably do have $50 a month, right? It's like, great. So here's this really good alternative that you can do for $50 a month. And, we eat our own dog food. I mean, I've signed up for several, and it's like, it's amazing. It works. And it goes out and finds you the places to be. And now you're building your authority. And, you can, continue to do things like, eat and pay rent instead of spending $2,500 a month.
Exactly. And sorry, I clicked by mistake, but I'm thinking it's so exciting, but we've got to go on to the next topic. It's like, this is just great because there's so much disruption and change happening now that we just have to talk about this stuff. Have to talk. And Will and everybody else, when you talk about value, you've got to get to more effective ways of measuring it. I just put up this random screenshot that I got about Agile metrics. Now, I'm an Agilist. I've been so for decades now, right? And probably even prior. But something that has always killed me in the Agile world, like all these metrics that we have, from tracking the hours work, burn down, I'm like in hours. I've seen teams work a substantial amount of hours, an insane amount of hours, and deliver very little value. Same things with delivering story points and all the various things. So we've got to get to some better ways of measuring value, or even starting to do it. So many times I've been in organizations in places where they wouldn't even bother to measure value. So like, Will, as we dip into this, what comes to mind about ways of actually measuring the value?
I mean, to me, most of these charts are one of two things, right? They're either, especially in enterprise, they're charts that actually measure what the team is doing. So they're used to make somebody, way up the food chain very happy to see a chart that goes up and to the right, right? And as any good engineer can do, we will absolutely make that happen. right? Whether it's true or not, we'll make it happen because we know how to game the system. And so that's what happens. And you get all of these things, and this is where vanity metrics come in. All of these things that we measure, the things that in the last 20 years that Jira and others have taught us to measure, are things that should be measured, but they don't. Most of them don't have anything to do with customer value. And the way to correctly measure customer value is to do it from the beginning. What you're going to measure is the same things that you measured when you asked up front, hey, is this valuable? Great. What's the proof that this is valuable? So when you're creating the value up front, when you're doing your surveys, when you're doing your interactions with there, and you're talking to your customers, or your PO's talking to your customers, and you're getting all of this feedback loop, and they say, look, what's most valuable to me is that I can sync my Google Calendar, right? Do not fall into the trap that if your Google Calendar gets synced, that it's valuable, because that's what the customer said, because you didn't dive deep enough. He was like, so your pain is that Google Calendar doesn't sync? Oh, well, no, my pain is that I don't have all my information in the same place. Okay. Now there's something that we can measure, right? Don't measure features. Don't measure lines of code. Don't measure bugs. I mean, yeah, you can measure all those things, but that doesn't have anything to do with value. The customer is the only one who can tell you if it's valuable, which means at the end of the day, if value is delivered, who's the sign off? Well, it's not the Scrum Master, it's not the PO, it's not the VP, it's not the EVP or the COO or whoever it is, it's the customer. So you need to put as much effort into getting customer feedback post-launch as you do pre-launch. And the cool thing is if you did it right up front, you just do it exactly in reverse on the back. You already know the questions they told you. And then you go back. And then if you find a gap, you're like, wow, what they said didn't match what they said over here. Why? Now you're having conversations. Now you're iterating, right? So for me, that's what it is. I think that this is sorely missed. I think it's still a gap today. I think that there are ways around it. I'm hoping we can get some adoption in the Agile community. But we still, unfortunately, we still focus a lot on how we can package it all up in the ceremonies, and we still get wrapped around the axle on some of those things instead of value.
Will, as you're talking, my mind just blew up about the fact, how can we adopt it more in the Agile community? The Agile Manifesto had one particular value around working software, like about how you should base your progress on the working software. You should demo it, get feedback. After you deploy it, get feedback on that. It's a whole Agile Manifesto value that is based on working software. Because as you said, someone can say, that's what I want my Google Calendar, but it's really what you need. And a lot of time the end user and customer does not know exactly what they need. I know this for a fact. My company, we had a demo with a client 2 hours ago at 10 a.m., right? I mean, today. And we found out things that they never put in the requirements to start off with. It's like, wait, that role should not be able to submit Fab ID thing for processing and production. Well, it's a new thing that we were not aware. Oh, this is supposed to, because of the working software, because we demoed it and we found out the feedback loops have to be continuous all the time, and you've got to get the feedback. This whole data requirements, we built it according to what you want. Yes. But value correlates to what an end user or customer needs, not what they want. And it's two different things sometimes, two different things. And oh my God, perception is everything. What sometimes a customer might actually get all the things they asked for, but they don't perceive the value. They don't perceive the value. Right? So I think that what is really hard with value is that it's really around a lot of perception. right? And this equation here is what the customer really perceives as value is the benefit that they get, the perceived benefit minus the perceived cost. Because sometimes even the cost that they put in is not actually the real cost, right? It's, well, I spent this much, but we also got this and this and this, but you get these conversations, the perception that the end user has. And you have to understand that perception, that feeling that they have is so important. It's so critical. So you have to get feedback on what they perceive. You have to get feedback on how they like interact with the software, track their clicks, track everything that they do with the application. Nowadays, we have the technology to do that. Once we launch something, we can track how many downloads there are, track all the clicks, the completion to transaction, everything. I don't understand why more projects in corporate America, they don't have a whole section after launch day to track value delivered. Like a whole part, how back in the waterfall days, development, testing, you should just have a whole section post-launch to just track value and have data on that, hits, transactions, all of this stuff, because then you really start to understand this is how the end user feels about our software. They're actually using it. They're actually completing stuff. Anybody else wants to chime in? Throw in a comment.
I'll throw in one more thing in the real world. So one of the things that we're developing, it's got an internal name called the holodeck, and this is still in development. We're probably 6 to 9 months away from delivering. But as we're doing it, we're training some very specific personas. Right? These are customized. These are customized AI personas. Proprietary, right? So this isn't based on anybody's API. I mean, we're building these from scratch, right, on our own SLM. And one of them is a project manager persona. And one of the things that I have trained into it already is to ask for and produce post-launch actions that are required, right? Just as important as middle and things and everything else. So, for example, hey, full documentation. It does it. So AI can really speed that up. That's easy, right? Everybody knows developers don't comment their code, and everybody hates documentation creation. But this is one thing that AI is very good at, right? And follow up. It knows what happened early with the questionnaires that you sent out, the way that you talk to your things. One of the requirements is you need to go back to these same people that you've already talked to and follow up and get their information back. So this is where you can start to, when we talk about automation, we talk about AI, we talk about the manifesto and all the customer value. When you create your AI team enhancement, right? So it's an extension of you, right? I don't believe that AI is going to replace
a whole team of personas that are.
If I've got an AI team over here nagging me, hey, did you send the follow-up survey to there? Did you find out that this is really delivering? Is this customer going to renew, or are they just going to buy one time, right? So you can build this in. It's not that hard. Adoption in corporate America, very hard, right? But if you build this into your initial things, I don't want to say you're doing it in spite of corporate American needs, but I guarantee you, when they see the results one time, they're going to go, "Oh wait, this is something better." Anyway, I won't go off on the soapbox before I don't get close on time.
But I love it how you're we've gone down the direction of, hey, train AI to care about customer value. Right. There you go. We might have more success there. Hey, let's conclude with call to action. In the last 10 minutes that we have today, we want to make sure that people Will and I are very passionate about this, and we're shouting it out loud. But we want to be say, hey, what can you do from a call to action perspective, right? As we leave today. And Will, do you want to get started with your solopreneur stuff?
Yes. And while I may not be the biggest Sam Altman fan on the planet,
Yeah.
this will happen, right? We will see a one person unicorn, because this is not. But what I will say is that while that's true and that's cool, that's a cool thing, that shouldn't be our goal, right? It's like, I'm sure we're going to see a new basketball star come out, but I'm never going to play in the NBA, right? I mean, so we want to keep this to what you can do, and what you can do in this age of agency, right? It's new, it's coming up. You can start to think, hey, what can I do on a small scale with my agile augmented abilities, right? So for example, I don't write good marketing content, but I can absolutely train a bot to help me. I may not know every single thing there is to know about being a CFO, even though I get very close. I can absolutely have a researcher that gets the latest tax information, blah, 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 for whatever it is I'm doing for my company of one. And now this company of one or two, I've got all of these personas that can help me deliver things, including my product owner who's going to nag me about sending out post-launch surveys to make sure that they've actually got value. That's just one example of all of the things that can be done. So now I'm walking about with these augmented abilities, right? My natural abilities, I'm a geek. I can't help it, right? I'm digging in here. I'm talking about things. I could go off for days and tell you about all this cool new hardware and how the SLM works and all of these cool things that I'm building and doing, and most of you would go to sleep. But what you can talk about is, wait a minute, how can I use these tools to help me? That's what the question you should be asking. What if I could carry around 3 or 4 experts with me, what would they do for me? Right? When they tell me, hey, this is information, that's your call to action. It's like any other tool. You've got to learn it, and you've got to play with it, and you've got to get out there and don't spend $1 billion, right? That's what I would tell to everyone. In the age, and I call this the age of agency. That's a phrase coined by my partner Aaron. We need to embrace and understand that as solopreneurs, which a lot of you also are, right? I mean, you're a scrum master, you've got your shingle hung out or whatever. You need to also be a marketer. You also need to be a salesperson. You also need to take care of your finances. All of those things that you're also needing to do, right? And hey, you also need to flatten out your income, right? Because if everybody knows, if you're a consultant, your income goes like this, up and down, up and down, up and down. Well, what if you had a little asset over here for an idea that you got, that you pre-validated, very cheap? I told Max when we had lunch, I told him, it was like, hey, you can do this validation thing for $79 a month, right? Most of us can afford that. $79 a month to know if your idea is worth anything. You produce it. Boom, now I've got $5,000 a month steady income coming over here to flatten out my curve of consulting. So that's how you can bring it in, is an augment. And you know what? As agilists, you've been trained to think lean since the day you started. You have an advantage right now. Use it.
I mean, the validation that you said for 79 bucks a month, you just throw out that number. That means actually creating some sort of a prototype that you put out there that can actually see if my services or my product or whatever I have in mind might be able to gain some traction, right? Things are doable. They're doable. And as we conclude, I mean, what Will just said now, I put out this screenshot just to like a lot of people are talking about this, but imagine if we had a lot more people creating more services and companies and things. We would have more options to choose from. We wouldn't be stuck to how many really awesome chatting tools are out there. There's Slack, and there's just another handful. Why can't I have a choice of like 35 of them, right? And they charge me $5 a month, and that's it regardless how many end users I have on it, right? I mean, that's what happens when you have a lot more choices and options. So the more of us that actually do this age of agency,
Yep.
age of agency, and go out and do stuff, the better it is for everybody. Not just, I mean, like the Agile community, not just all this other stuff and everything. But Will, I am the most optimistic person out there. But I also have to be realistic. When I think about change, sometimes I get so defeated. Sometimes I think about, oh God, I've got to go learn all this stuff about AI tools. I've got to go do all this stuff and everything. And you know, it just feels like I'm like an overwhelming thing. And some people just want to get, you know, a job. Some people just want to have, you know, a paycheck every 2 weeks. Some people just want to do this. I mean, is there anything we can leave them with saying, you know, even while you have a job, even while you do other stuff, try something on the side, right? Or
Absolutely.
do something, because, you know, this world is changing, whether we like it or not, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, when you look at the numbers, and I know a lot of people on this call, and we all know someone who's been laid off, right? This is different. Like I say, I'm old. I've been around here for a long time, 60 years, right? We've had over 1 million layoffs in the last 6 months in this country. At this point, everybody knows someone who's been laid off, and you know, this is the time to think hard and long about that, and talk to these people. And it's like it's taking 18 and 24 months to get that job, and that's depressing. And Max asked for something that's not depressing. What's not depressing is grieve your job loss, right? But don't stay there. Think about, hey, you know, I got a little severance package, I hope, right? I got a little something. What am I going to do with my time, right? It's like, okay, I can go out and I can find some of these. I want to hang on a shingle and be there. Well, I don't need to go hire a publicist. That used to be a deal killer. Now I can go hire a publicist for $20 a month, $50 a month, $100 a month, somewhere in there, not 2,500. Like, okay, I've got an idea to build some software. Used to, the answer was, hey, I want to go and I need to round up $250,000 so that I can go out and do da 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 da. That's not the case anymore.
That's not the case.
You can spend some time validating cheap, $79 a month. I just gave an example. And then you can say, hey, great, I've got a working prototype that lives in my phone. I can go show it to somebody, and I can take that working prototype and I can go to, I don't know, Carpe Diem or someplace like that and say, hey guys, what's it going to cost me to build this? And you know what? It's not going to be $100,000, right? Unless you build something massive. But for the most part, that's not the goal. You're not trying to be that unicorn. You're trying to start small. It's like, hey, look, I'd like to build something where I can collect $20 a month from 1,000 users.
And you validated it already.
Right.
You have to know that it will add value, or else you will build something that is not used. We have clients that have done that, have built stuff that did not get used. So you have to be aware of the validation of it and stuff. Will and I can stick around, answer a question or two, talk more about this that we're always super passionate about. But we do start on time and end on time at the Agile Austin Leaders Special Interest Group. So folks, first of all, I'd like to say shout out to Will. Thank you for joining us today and doing this. Woo, Will. Yeah, we got some applause going on and everything. Hey. And everybody, happy holidays, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, enjoy it. And we will see you here back again in 2026. February, we're starting up again in 2026. Take care. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. And Sheila said, as people drop off or say, Sheila said, the interesting thing about AI is learning how to get the different AI to work together, playing on strengths of each other. And that was, Will, you know what?
Yes, I'll dive straight into that one.
Yeah. Like, you know, like creating a team, like it's a whole concept that is beyond what I've heard so far. Creating a
Yeah.
team of AI folks. Huh?
So I'm literally working on this right now. And so, a lot of times when people think about AI, they think, oh, it's either Claude or it's OpenAI or ChatGPT, right? That's what they think. And it's like, if we get those two to work together, it's much deeper than that. We're watching the hype on social media. There are all sorts of models out there that do certain things better. For example, I mentioned the lab earlier with the 7 base personas. I actually have 7 unique AI models that will talk in orchestration with each other and pick up and go back and forth and learn constantly from each other. But it isn't Claude learning from ChatGPT. I mean, these are all custom models. So,
And their roles, like when you say there are 7 of the models, are each of them a role, like a product owner,
yes.
developer?
So the 7 base roles that we have, the 7 basic roles, we got a coder, right? A developer, right, is actually able to go in and manipulate code, similar to what you see with something like a Claude code. We've got an architect. It's like it stays up to date on all the latest architecture and things like that. Then you also have, a project manager. And so the project manager is a person that the AI that keeps track of all the documentations. It keeps all of your, if you got a Kanban board, it keeps everything in the right columns. It keeps all of your stories written correctly. All of that automatically. As the developer develops, it knows that it happened and it moves the cards for you, right? All of the things so that you can still keep up with it. Because remember, you're a solo person and you need to keep track just like any other CEO would, right?
I need
Then
to
you got a
visualize the
CFO.
work. I need to
Right.
visualize the work going on. Yes,
Right.
of course.
I mean, I can share my screen and go on. I can show you some active ones and you watch them move. The CFO, right? You've got somebody in there going, hey, whoa. That's a really cool idea that you got there to add. But guess what? That's going to break your budget. All of a sudden, your SaaS model isn't going to work anymore. That's going to cost more money every user you add or things like that. And so then that's the CFO. And each of these is trained, right?
Yeah.
And learns from the conversation, right? And the back end models, right? The basically the SLM that they're sitting on and the model that they're being trained from is not the same. Whereas example is Claude Code is very good at technical analysis, right?
Yes, that's what I heard.
ChatGPT is better at marketing, right? Marketing and analysis. So those are just 2 examples. There are about 70 base models out there that are out there. A lot of them are open source that are better than either one of those things and other things, right? There is a better coder out there technically than Claude Code. Claude Code just happens to have the best adoption, right? So you go and you can find some of these, and there's lots of open source, just like Apache back in the day, right? Apache actually has their own models that these sit on, and then you got foundations like Llama and all the things. But you can absolutely find the providers that understand this. Though you do not want to be beholden and helping
Or
just
two.
the big or just the one, right? You want to diversify. So if you're building software or if you're coming up with ideas and you want to learn things, don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? So there are lots of things. And orchestration is there. I think SLMs are the future.
Oh, this is great to hear. And what you bring to the visibility is especially the fact that, Claude is very good at coding. So you use them to create the AI coder, right? And you go on at everything. And I think that when you start to structure things like that, the fact of a solopreneur creating the billion-dollar company, it starts to make more sense how that happens. I'm not just a solopreneur, just doing prompts to AI all the time and I've actually created my teams, my departments, my accounting department, my whatever department, my HR department, if I need to hire someone in the future, or if some department that has to scout to find more AI to do certain things. And then from there, I just kind of like feed the vision, feed what I'm trying to create, do all that. And then I keep an eye on everything because everything has to be visualized. I keep an
Yes,
eye
and
and
nobody
go,
talks to AI as good as AI does, right? So here's the thing. It's like I can tell my coder what to do, right? And I mean, I've had my hands off the keyboard for a long time, but I'm back, and I can guide my coder to an extent. But better, I can describe what I want to my CPO, have my CPO describe that to the architect, and have the architect describe that to the coder, and I will get more correctness like that than it would if I tried to go direct to the coder, because the each of these personas has to understand how to deliver. I mean, remember, all of this comes down to binary, right? It's all ones and zeros at the end of the day, right? All of these programming languages are for
hard to
us,
believe. Yeah.
right? It's for us, right? When you go in and you're typing Python or whatever it is you're using, remember that's all for the humans. On the somewhere down the line, it's all binary, right? And so this is the thing: is teaching orchestration is the term that we use. Is there? This is also creating a new kind of testing layer, for example, right? If you know anything about software, there's unit testing, right? You've all heard about automated unit testing, automated integration testing, automated end-to-end testing. It all has its place. You can't test AI that way. Why? Because AI doesn't give the same response twice in a row ever. Do not ever think it will. Right? So you need to go out there and you need to boom, I need to grab 100 samples and look for outliers and test that. I'm looking for outliers. I'm not looking for results. And so
Yeah.
the way that we interact with AI has to have a different kind of thinking. So when you're looking for providers in some ways to help you with AI, you need to find people that understand that, right? And just like with anything else, there's a lot of people out there that are sprinkling some AI on it. You know, that's like
You
that's like the
sprinkle some Agile on it.
that's right. We're
Just
gonna do
sprinkle.
agile, right? Our goal is to do agile, not be agile. Well, today we have the problem of we have everybody out there they're gonna do AI, right? And we all remember the dot-com bust. We're gonna hit one. We're gonna hit an AI bust, right? It's gonna happen. Right? Pay
Well, like
attention.
the internet
Be a
bust,
cynic.
it's going to happen and then it'll keep on
Right.
growing. Yeah,
Right.
that's it.
But the winners come out winners, right? And so I think it's important, like you say, be a skeptic. It's okay to be a skeptic. Talk to your things. Talk to your community. I mean, look, we've got a great community here, right? This is the beautiful thing about being in groups like Agile Austin. Look around the room, right? You can't throw a rock without finding an expert on something, right?
Yeah.
Leverage those experts. Doesn't cost you anything to have a conversation. When you're at CA, walk up, shake somebody's hand, and say, "Look, I've been thinking about customer value and AI. What do you think? I heard this guy Will talking about it. I think he's full of crap. What do you think?" Great. That's the point. Let's all get better by leveraging the community, because at the end of the day, when it comes about delivering customer value, what Agile Austin is supposed to deliver is customer value to you guys. So I mean, it's all
Agile
important.
community.
Right.
Agile Austin delivers value to the Agile community.
Correct.
Yeah. We have I don't know if Shayla might want to deep dive in this. Let's address this before we split for the day. Another thing I learned is that you need to read all agreements very carefully to retain like ownership of the IP. Ooh,
100%. So I've
interesting.
engaged my lawyer already, right? So from the go. So this is very. I mentioned this briefly to Max over lunch. Um, when you do need to understand the difference between their IP and your IP. One of the reasons that we at Pivot Ready are moving to a private model is so there is no theirs and ours. It's ours, right? And so we're not doing that
Private
because
model. Okay, what's that?
right. So if I'm using the Anthropic API, for example, and I'm pulling down and using and getting information from there and forth, it is still very gray as to what I own and what Anthropic can claim they own, or what is in the public domain. Because so much of the LLM is public domain already, you can't claim public domain. Now, if you can create something unique, you can claim it, but you better get it done. So that's one of the things we're applying for patents and getting things done right now. It's going to be a very slippery slope on this right here, especially because Unlike hiring an employee that in their contract it says any work you're doing for me while you're here is mine, you're not hiring Claude.com, right? You have a subscription, right? And
Yes.
you're using its data, right? Now, if you and Claude collaboratively come up with a very unique idea,
And they sell their product for you to install and it's yours and everything, then that's
then
different.
as long as you document it, then you're on your path. The fastest path to documentation is copyright first, right? Copyright, it's the fastest path. It's the least expensive. Trademark is next. It's a marketing exercise. It doesn't give you the legal protections that most people think. It's out there. It's good. Actually, going the full patent route is very expensive. You're going to need $10,000 to $20,000 to get a patent. That's just, I'm sorry. The days of going to do it on yourself are there. Even with an agent, it's going to be expensive.
Yes. And this feels, Will, it almost feels that this conversation could be a whole SIG in itself in the future. As you go down the path of creating your different personas and doing your stuff, you would have gone through that whole process